Hey guys, and welcome to the Invar Technologies Podcast, a podcast where we interview top-level executives inside leading and growing companies in the food and beverage space. We're excited to have our guest today, Cole Hamilton. We'll be diving into his story, a little bit about what his company does, and some engaging insights into the food industry, so make sure to stick around. If you could just, introduce yourself, Cole, tell a quick snippet of your story and kind of your background prior to working at Little Spoon.
Yep, Cole Hamilton. I'm the VP of Operations at Little Spoon. Kind of a weird way that I got here, to tell you the truth. I was a product manager in marketing and was finishing grad school and was looking for something smaller where I could play a role and have an impact. And I didn't necessarily know it was going to be food. Got into the CPG world of food manufacturing. Didn't know that was going to be an operations role. It was originally a marketing role. But it started making some real headway on the operations side and manufacturing side, and kind of fell into this niche where what I discovered is that in operations, I can make an immediate impact by just analyzing data, going out and improving a process, and see what that impact had on the company. And I just really enjoyed it and had a great mentor, and that led me into a role with Freshly in the DTC food world, and that was completely different than what I'd done in the CPG world, and that has subsequently brought me to Little Spoon, where my team oversees the entire production and ordering and planning and logistics, fulfillment, all that. It's a great team and a great company that I work for.
That's awesome, man. I love to always kind of hear how people get into the industry. What was it about it? And obviously from your perspective, moving from a marketing role, right, the product marketing into operations, quite the switch, right? And so it's definitely interesting to see how you kind of made that transition as well.
Yeah, and I love to go out and tell people, hey, supply chain's fun. I didn't know that as a marketing student in undergrad, right? And then I got into it, and I was like, this is amazing. I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. So what was it? Was the food industry like? Did you kind of just fall into it? Was it more of like you just by chance you got into it and you realized that you wanted to stay in it, or was it you were kind of searching for an opportunity within the industry?
Totally by chance that it happened to be food and it happened to be a startup. I think that was the key. Is it was a startup. There was a small group of people running that facility. A bunch of employees, doing the hard work, but the leadership was pretty small, and I was able to make an impact by, hey, here's a problem, let's solve it. We don't know how to solve this problem. Cole, can you do it? Hey, Bob, can you do it? Just seeing who could do it, and it created opportunities for me. And so I've just enjoyed the food space, and there's a big difference between what we're doing in the CPG world, where your customers are big grocery chains, and what I do now, where the customer is the end user who gets the delivery at their door. So I was able to transfer some of that knowledge, but it was definitely a big change in different ways of doing what I do every day. Definitely,
yeah, and it's a common recurring theme that I'm seeing. I'm talking with a lot of people within the food industry, and it seems like they don't find it finds them, right? Somehow along the way they manage to kind of fall into it, and then they develop a passion for where they're just like, what, this is where I need to be. So it's cool to hear that you have a similar story to that. You've obviously been in the industry for a little bit now. You've seen probably kind of the ebbs and flows of kind of how the food market is moving. I always like to get people's perspective. What are some of the trends that you're currently noticing within the food industry that maybe you're aware of, as in terms of where maybe the market's going, or in terms of just hot topics within the market?
Well, since I spend all day, moving product around the country, I think that I can largely speak to what we're seeing on the operational side. So for DTC, we're always looking to reduce our cost to deliver, right? That's going to be a big section of our cost on a week-to-week, day-to-day, month-to-month basis. So we're looking for ways to optimize by using predictive models to reduce our coolant. We're working with cool, innovative companies that are using those models to say, hey, maybe you don't need as much coolant this week or in this region. We're also using neat things like last mile carriers that are using innovative strategies to reach that end customer and reduce our TNT, our time in transit. There's one of the other emerging trends are these outsourced fulfillment and logistics platforms. These are really cool. I have a partner on the team that refers to it as outsourced operations, but really what they're doing is they're outsourcing the difficult part for startups to get over as far as the fulfillment and logistics goes. So can they optimize their cartonization of their boxes? Can they optimize the size of their boxes? Can they optimize getting on trucks with other orders and sharing the cost of that load and that kind of thing? And then the other big trend is robotics and automation. This is kind of having a moment in food manufacturing, especially among the DTC, like ready-to-eat meals and the meal kit companies, where robotics can step in and not only reduce labor, and that's important, but also improve portioning size and reduce waste overall. We're definitely seeing those trends in my previous experience and in the experience I'm in now.
Yeah, no, you're not the first person to touch on some of those. So definitely, I think that is where what we're seeing right now in the market, right? And I guess I wanted to just transition a little bit and ask you, for the audience that is listening that maybe doesn't know about Little Spoon, how would you kind of categorize, Little Spoon and what you guys are doing as a company right now?
So Little Spoon is honestly the only end-to-end platform for parents to feed their kids nutritious meals. So we offer baby blends, slightly chunkier baby blends, snacks, smoothies, full-on meals that kids can grab with their hands. So we're really working with parents and kiddos through their eating journey, and we're right now kind of the last one standing in that regard, is to offer that full spectrum in a single platform. So really focused on children's nutrition and making it easier for parents to get that food in front of their kids.
Yeah, that's a great mission, right? And I love that. I think where we're also moving towards in terms of like the food industry, or at least I'm hoping that we're moving towards, is going to be like more of healthy alternatives, right? As I'm hoping we're turning a wheel to kind of what is it that we can put in our bodies that's going to obviously be able to give us the maximum amount of nutrition, right? And be able to feel better, think better, whatever it can be a product of, right? You touched on kind of you guys being the only company that's doing that. Would you kind of say that that's where your unique value lies within Little Spoon, is you guys kind of stand out amongst your competitors because you really don't have any? Like it's just more of you guys, like you're sitting on in an echelon of your own?
Well, yeah, the grocery store is always, a competitor, but as far as that end-to-end platform and the breadth of what we're offering, and we continue to expand that, just in the fall, we added 15 new SKUs, and that really closed that gap. So you've got babies that are going to eat, once they start eating purees and, fruit, bananas and stuff like that, they're going to graduate to maybe a chunkier food. And then there was a gap because we were offering kids plates and meals, like a 300 calorie meal that they would want to eat, but we had that gap. And so smoothies have kind of filled that gap. Snacks are filling that gap. Those are more add-ons to our customers. And that's where I don't feel like we have any direct competition, is across that whole breadth. And you've got plenty of meal kit companies that are offering ready-to-eat meals for adults, but not at the kid level. There are a few that are doing it, and the smoothie market's pretty crowded. But as far as that kids' whole eating journey, up until like age 7, we're the only ones offering that full like marketplace when the parent lands on our webpage.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's always so interesting to me when like companies find such small niches, and they're able to really capitalize on, being that unique company within there, right? And it's essentially what you guys are doing, right? You find that super small niche, within you guys are building out your products in, and obviously proving to be relatively well for you guys. So I'd love to hear kind of how that journey has been going. It's awesome. It's awesome to hear. I did want to transition a little bit and ask you some of the things that, obviously you're an operational executive. You get your hands dirty with a lot of the operational side of things, and, you probably are having to wear a lot of hats, right? Being the VP of operations, I'm assuming that you do a lot. So in terms of, and you keep this broad to kind of the industry, because I'm curious, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see in operating, a food company? And the follow-up to that is if you have any advice that you really seem helpful in kind of overcoming those.
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking about that as you were saying that really what it comes down to is availability of resources. So a lot of these in the startup food world, food tech world, You've got a lot of great people starting a business. They're rolling through. They're doing a lot of things the hard manual way to get there. And embracing technology may be a hurdle because you just don't have the employee resources to do so. And it may be too much to take on. And you've got, Freshly was a good example of that when I joined. They were doing great and growing really fast, but they just didn't have a lot of processes, tools, to allow them to scale. And once we got those, that company scaled, really nicely. But I'd say another challenge is embracing automation in that same regard. But the challenge there is automation comes about with scale. But sometimes if you can get to that automation a little bit earlier, you're going to get to scale faster. So it's kind of something that a lot of companies are chasing, but that automation may be really expensive in the manufacturing world. What I'm seeing is some companies embracing this robot as a service technology. So there's these robots that can dose meals, can dose plates, can assemble plates, can simply lay the plate on the assembly table, or can automate the sleeving process. Sometimes those hurdles are real high, but there are companies that are offering kind of like as a service, you pay as you go to get that instead of having to have that huge upfront cost. So that and just the general regulations and in the food world can be a challenge too. But with the right people in place, those are all something that I've seen now 2 companies overcome with ease.
Definitely. And would you say, I know obviously, automation is, is a big trend, right? Everything is trying to be automated, trying to, do less and less manual processes. Do you see a lot of that, continuing? Obviously, the companies who adopt those technologies and are continuing to obviously find ways. Do you see as that's going to be a big differentiator between different companies, who tend to adopt those technologies versus the companies who don't? Do you think there's going to be a gap?
I think so. I think so, because production volumes are hard to scale without some level of automation. So, the food world, you're always going to have some level of culinary excellence that you're going to have. You're not going to automate the cooking steps all that much. You can have, tilt kettles and stuff that drains automatically, and you can get some automation there. But I still think you need the quality chefs and the quality team in there. The assembly side, as you're plating, that's where the automation can really take hold and allow you to scale faster and not waste food as much and not run into issues. And you can use vision systems, which are really cool, to make sure that you're plating the plate exactly how it's advertised and the customer is getting as it's advertised. So that type of automation, even on the back end, the fulfillment side, a lot of these startups in the food world will try to do it the hard way and do it manually. But automation, there are robots that can do that. There are pick-to-light systems that we embraced at Freshly that did that. There's a ton of automation on that back end with boxing and shipping and all that kind of stuff too that we're starting to see. So yeah, that will be a differentiator for the companies that want to scale and grow. And I got to see that with Freshly, and I'm seeing that with Little Spoon too.
Wow. Yeah. I'm always big into, mindset and the way that I look at, how to take on challenges and, what type of mindset is really needed to be a successful leader. And so I always love getting the perspective from someone who's obviously in the weeds, that's, pushing the business forward, that's driving things forward, that's trying to optimize different things. What type of mindset, in your opinion, because it's obviously an opinion-based question, it's going to vary from everyone we go to, but in your opinion, is really needed to be a successful VP of operations?
I would say this. I would hope no VP of operations would, argue with this, but an open mindset. I'm not the expert on the team. I bring some experience to the team, but my team are the ones that are performing those actions and optimizing those actions every day. So I really try to force an open mindset culture within my team, because innovation can happen only if people are allowed to innovate. I don't have all the answers, and I really go to my team for the answers. What can we be doing here? What can we be doing there? Can we make an improvement? And they'll bring that input back, and sometimes even step outside their scope of responsibility, if you want to call it that, and innovate somewhere else. And that's honestly how I advanced my career. Was I stepped out of that comfort zone. And, I had a great mentor that was very open mindset oriented, and he allowed me to go on a path because I had started, solving that problem. And so I carry that with me on my team, and I've gotten really good feedback from my team that they appreciate that they can provide input, innovate, change the way we do things, and I'm going to support and advocate for them as much as I can.
Yeah, that's a very important trait and quality that you need as to be a successful leader. I feel like in any organization, just because you have to have the people that work for you feel that they're heard, right, and feel that they have the opportunity to innovate, right, and even if you give them that option, they're going to want to do rather than you shutting down every single thing that they're coming up to you with, right? And so I think that that's definitely important in ingraining that culture with the people around you, because it's only going to inspire them to want to do more, right? And so I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think open mind and having, really being able to find the people that are better than you in certain areas, right? That I think that's like comes with self-awareness, right? It's like, hey, like I just cannot be the best at everything, right? Like I have my role, but I have to know when to delegate and say, listen, this guy is the best in this area. Let me put him there, and understanding your weaknesses and deficiencies to be able to then, obviously allow your employee or, your team members to excel in their roles as well.
Yeah, it's probably cliche, but I only hire people that are smarter than I am. Maybe that's not difficult, but it served me well. I've had great teams everywhere I've worked, and just with that mentality.
Definitely. The thing is, it's hard to find people. Like, it's hard to find that quality talent. Like, that's the hard thing, right? Like, but looking for it, and always trying to have that bar set, right? Where it's like, hey, if they're smarter than me, I definitely want them on my team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
100%. So, I never like to go, too far out into the future, like 5 to 10 years, because I think it's a little bit hard to visualize that. But in the next 12 months, what's the vision, for yourself and also for Little Spoon? What are you guys kind of currently building towards?
Work-wise, they're blended, and my team knows that what we're shooting for in the next 12 months is, I guess I could refer to it as operational excellence. So are we streamlining our ability to deliver products, process, and performance to the company? So processes are going to be streamlining the way that we use technology, the way that we use modeling, the way that we use analytics. The products is streamlining our ability to keep our inventory at a level that is adequate enough to manage our out of stocks to a minimal level and keep the menu full, but not overstock either, and end up in a waste situation where product codes out. And then performance, how are we measuring that performance? What are we measuring? As far as food goes, are we measuring our ability to keep the menu full? Are we measuring our ability to optimize outbound trucks? Are we measuring our ability to reduce costs wherever we can? Are we focusing on the right margins important, but opportunities and happiness and satisfaction among our co-packer network and our internal network and everything like that. So just overall, that's what my team has been focused on the previous 12 months, but that's what we're focusing on in the next 12 months too.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, as an operational executive, that's all you want, right? It's like, how can we streamline things? How can we make things run smoother? How can we continue to, increase throughput, improve overall operational efficiency? So I think that's right on the money in terms of what you should be focusing on, right?
And the team's embracing it too.
That's awesome. I know you're obviously not much, on the technological side. You don't have your hands in a lot of, technology side, but I'm sure that you're still using a lot of, technology on a day-to-day basis. Is there anything that, you're looking to maybe implement inside the business or technology that you've found over the years really helpful for, a food company to really have or to implement within the business?
Well, one that we're doing now from an operations perspective is supply planning software. So you can get pretty far in manufacturing and running your supply plan in a spreadsheet, but at some point you need stronger databases, you need stronger analytical models. That goes back to your demand planning too. And we have a whole podcast on the difference between DTC demand planning and CPG demand planning, but we have really good modeling there. We bring that forecast into this supply planning model, and it allows us to look further down the horizon. We couldn't do that in spreadsheets. And the reason why we need to look further down is now we're making more strategic buys on our MRP or our material resource planning side. And we need that production plan, an estimate of our production plan, maybe 6 months out, so that we can strategically buy our raw materials and get better deals and that kind of thing. One of the best things from a manufacturing standpoint that I have done in the past, I've done it twice now, is the manufacturing execution system. They exist all over the place with different like Oracle and SAPs. But being able to measure and Pareto chart your overall equipment effectiveness, so that's just a way to standardize your throughput, output, and downtime, and the quality of what you make, has gone a long way, because you basically hit a point where operations and manufacturing says, whoa, like we can't produce anymore. There's nothing left, but you also don't know what's left. And to uncover that, these manufacturing execution systems, or MES systems, log that information and track that downtime. And operators are, giving reason codes, and that goes a long way to finding that hidden capacity that might be available to a company. And that's honestly like where we succeeded at Freshly. We thought we'd hit our cap on the meals we could produce per day, and we ended up getting another like 30% out of it because we improved our production output through this MES process. Those are huge. ERPs are the backbone behind that feed that information, but really it's the output of the MES that allows the operators and the managers to see where they're deficient.
Definitely. And I think you bring up a lot of great points, because I mean, at the end of the day, everything has to come down to how are you looking at the data, how are you analyzing your data, and how are you making strategic decisions based upon that, and having it accessible to you as well, right? I think that's definitely going to only improve your decision making, right, and improve what the organization is able to prioritize at certain moments. So I love that you bring that.
And the operators really get behind it when they can see it too, because now they can see where they're running slow, or they're running behind, or they wasted a bunch of food. And what was really neat one time in the baking world is we compared the lines on a TV in front of them and showed them their MES scores and where they were on their OEE status, and it became a light competition between them, like to perform better. And that was really cool to see, because they were gaming it in a good way. And pushing the other teams to like perform, because it became a competition within the team. So there's all kinds of benefits to just exposing that data. Data should be everywhere in manufacturing, in my opinion.
Definitely. You've done a couple of things, Cole. You've obviously been in a couple of companies, and you've been inside the food industry, and you've had a career, and you started off your career in marketing, and you came to the operations, which is definitely cool to see how you've had this evolution. I know it's always a hard question, and I like to kind of end with it because it's one of my favorite ones, but it's a loaded one, so be prepared. But if you had to really summarize, all of those maybe lessons that you learned along the way, what would you say are some of the most important things that you've learned in your career?
Couple things. I had a great mentor that said, if you don't have trust, you don't have a high-performing team. You basically end up with a team that regresses to the minimum level of output, and they get complacent because they're basically trying not to get in trouble. So his whole edict was, let's have a team full of trust where information can flow back and forth freely, and we're going to be a high-performing team. And he developed really high-performing teams. He's still a great mentor of mine, and I really appreciated that. One of the things that I've noticed on my own as I've got into these more higher roles, I guess, is that walking into a situation, or just like the general course of things, it's not changing the people that get results. It's kind of evaluating the situation. So what does the team have? What possibly are they lacking, or do they need? And then you can probably come back and make an evaluation on whether or not that team is going to be high performing, or even that individual. So it's not necessarily make a people change. It's assess the situation first. And I walked into that with Freshly, and honestly with Little Spoon too. And was able to retain some really good employees because the situation wasn't ideal for them. They didn't have the tools they needed. They didn't have the guidance or direction maybe that they were requiring. They were outside their scope of like comfortable level of operating, I guess, and just assessing that situation and listening to them. And that was all that's how I set the foundation for building trust when I joined Little Spoon. And I have a really good team and a really amazing group of employees.
Yeah, and I think that's it's great that you mentioned that. I think it's always important to mention to focus on the people around you, because at the end of the day, business is a reflection of its people, right? The business is essentially the reflection of the people inside the business, because without the people, there's no business. So like that's the most important part of it, right? It's like the culture, the team, the people that are you're around you, how you're inspiring them to be better and being able to grow within their position. So I think you bring up a lot of phenomenal points, and I hope the people that are listening take those home as well. But Cole, it's been an absolute pleasure getting the chance to talk with you and hear more about your story and hear what you guys are building over there at Little Spoon. It's definitely something special, something unique, and I'm rooting from the sidelines. If people are listening to this and they either want to reach out to yourself or maybe just are interested in the company, what are the best ways to kind of get some more information on that?
I'm a big believer in LinkedIn. Get a lot of great contacts, both professionally and personally through LinkedIn. So you can always find me on LinkedIn under Cole Hamilton, and I'm always willing to chat. And actually, I love industry folks when we get together and we can chat about the industry and what's good, what's hot, what's not, and how things are trending.
Thanks again so much, Cole, for coming on. It's been a pleasure. If you guys did make it all the way to the end, we do appreciate it. If you could like, comment, and subscribe for more content. We hope you guys have a great rest of your day.